Analyzing graphs of relations. Teaching the mathematical practices. Graphing the total time driven during your driving course can help you visualize the progress. A relation can be graphed without a scale on either axis to show the relationship between the independent and dependent variables. These graphs can be interpreted by analyzing their shapes. The values in the domain correspond to the independent variable of the relation. The independent variable in a relation, usually x, has a value that is subject to choice. In the graph shown, the independent variable is the days. The values in the range correspond to the dependent variable of the relation. The dependent variable is the variable in a relation, usually y, with values that depend on x. In the graph shown, the dependent variable is the driving time. Analyze graphs. Teaching the mathematical practices. Texting the graph represents the number of text messages sent by Nora throughout the day. Part A. Identify the independent and dependent variables of the relation. Time is the independent variable because it is unaffected by the number of text messages Nora has sent. The number of text messages sent by Nora is the dependent variable because it is affected by time. Part B. Describe what happens in the graph. We can describe what is happening in the graph by analyzing what happens to the dependent variable, text messages sent, as the independent variable, time, increases. Move through the slides to analyze the graph. Questions for mathematical discourse. Think about it.
So we'll look this first part right here, that's in orange. Okay. So this first part right here, as we move along, that time is increasing as the number of text messages are increasing. Okay. Then we move to that little part right there. The horizontal line means that time is increasing, but the number of text messages sent remain constant. Okay. During the time Nora stops sending text messages. This next part is then she continues to send text messages until she stopped again for some period of time. And then finally, Nora begins sending text messages again. That's how we would read this assignment right here. X is our time. Text messages sent is our Y value. Take a moment and look on page 137, and I'd like you to do the check. Okay? So take a moment on page 137, and then do the check. All right, so let's look at this one. It says identify the independent and dependent variables for each relation. The average price of a ticket to an amusement park has steadily increased over time. The average price of the ticket is the blank variable. Time is the blank variable. Okay, so average price, it depends on what time it is. So since it's depending on time, the price is going to be dependent because it's depending on how much time. So my time is going to be the independent or my X value because time does not depend on that price ticket. Time is still going to be going on. That price ticket is not going to change how time is going. Okay. Part B, the air pressure inside a soccer ball decreases with time. Okay, so time is the blank variable, air pressure is the second, or is the blank variable. So as time is going on, that time is still going to be independent. It does not depend on how much air pressure is there. Air pressure does depend on how much time has passed, though. So air pressure is dependent on time. Time is independent. It does not matter. Air pressure does not affect it. But time does affect air pressure. We're now on page 138. Okay, on the top it says check. We have airplanes. After an airplane takes off, its altitude increases rapidly. Once it reaches the designated altitude, it continues to fly at the same level for a short period of time. Then the plane's altitude fluctuates slightly due to turbulence. Finally, the altitude decreases quickly as the plane lands. What Which graph best represents the situation? So we have A, B, C, or D. Which one would best represent that scenario right there? The next question we have is question number 3, traffic. Kane notices that traffic congestion on a street on weekday morning depends on the time of day. He draws a graph to represent the relationship between the time of day and the volume of traffic congestion on his street on a weekly morning. Analyze the orange segment. Select the statement that describes what is happening during this time. Okay. We have A, traffic congestion is steadily increasing at a very fast rate. I have B, traffic congestion is constant and very light. C, traffic congestion is constant and very heavy. And D, traffic congestion is decreasing at a steady rate. How did you do? Did you get them correct? Do you have any questions?